Calvin of the Winter Haven Ghostbusters, and this video is going to be how to make your very own unlicensed nuclear accelerator or Ghostbusters Proton pack. Now this is going to be a little bit different because this is kind of a galvanized version of it. It's going to teach you how to make a Ghostbusters Proton pack on the cheap. Now most Proton packs, the full replicas, can run anywhere from $500 up to $1,000. But this version, I'm going to show you how to make it under $100. So follow along with me. We're going to take some steps and I'm going to show you how to make your own Ghostbusters Proton pack. Okay, let's get started on making a Proton pack. First thing you're going to need to do is make a template. This template is going to be for the motherboard and for the cyclotron motor. You're going to be building the motherboard out of wood, and we're going to showing you how to cut that out in just a little while. But the first template you're going to need to do is going to be for the motherboard. So I made this one out of just regular little foam board that you can get in any craft store. And so you're going to be at already $2 here. So what you're going to want to do is start off with a rectangle. This rectangle is going to be 14 inches wide by 25.5 inches tall. Once you've got that done, then you need to measure out some certain shapes. First off is going to be the bottom circle. Now, from the left edge of the motherboard, you're going to measure in from the bottom 12.5 inches across and 12.5 inches up. And that is going to be your diameter for your cyclotron motor. And then from the right side, you're going to measure in from the top corner 1 inch in and 4 inches down. And this is going to give you this little notch here. This is 4 inches by 1 inches. Then you're going to come down another 5 inches. And then in 2. This is going to give you the unique shape of the motherboard, giving you a slight slope, which is going to take you to the outer edge of the cyclotron motor. So once again, starting off with 14 straight by 25.5, and that's going to be your base of your motherboard. Now the other template you're going to want to make is for the cyclotron motor. Using the measurements you've already made, again, making a circle, 12.5 inches in diameter. Now once you've got that, you want to make a nice little crosshairs on it. That'll get your center point line. You want to come in from that center point 1 1/4 inches. So just that difference. 1 1/4 inches, or 1.25 inches. You're then going to go up 6.5 inches, straight up. And that's going to be parallel to your center line. That again, and then slope that around when you get your height of 6.5, and then back out to the outer edge. So as you can see, the two ought to line up pretty darn good. And you're going to be using these for 2 of your different wood cuts that we're going to be making out of plywood and Luan. And we'll be talking about that when we go outside and cut that out. Okay, let's get started on cutting out the pieces for our motherboard. We're going to be using 2 types of wood. We're going to be using 3/4 inch plywood and Luan plywood. Very thin and very light plywood. What we're going to be doing is taking our templates, tracing it out, and cutting out these pieces. Now, a good rule of thumb, not many people can carry a full 4x8 sheet of plywood in your car. I personally have a Ford Focus. Do yourself a favor. At your local Lowe's or Home Depot, wherever you get your wood supply, have them cut it out for you in the sizes that you need. I already told them, I was like, hey, I need pieces that are 14 inches wide by 25.5 inches long. They rip it and cut it up, so that way you already have your pieces already in the exact size that you need to fit for your template. It's a good rule of thumb. Okay, line up your template. Trace it out with a marker. And there's your cut. And remember, before you work with any power tools, make sure to wear safety goggles. Okay, now that we got the shape cut out of our 3/4 inch plywood, we're going to do one more step. Like I said, we're always struggling between 2 things, strength and weight. We want it to be strong enough to hold what we're doing, and we also want it to be light enough so we can hold it up all night and while we're out chasing paranormal activity. So I've created 1/3 template which is basically a 1.5-inch border. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to trace this out. This is actually what our piece of plywood is going to end up looking like. It's just going to be a basic frame. We're going to take out over half the weight of this piece of plywood, which is averaging right now about 5 pounds. We're probably going to knock it down to about 1.5 pounds, maybe 2 pounds. So let's draw this out and cut it out. Line up your template. Grab your handy dandy Sharpie. Trace out your cut lines. And then just cut that out. Okay, our next step is to cut out the exact same motherboard template out of our Luan. The Luan is going to sandwich front and back on our 3/4 inch plywood frame. So let's get those traced out and cut out next. Now the last piece of wood that we're going to be cutting out is going to be the front piece of our cyclotron motor. We're going to take our last template, trace it out on the Luan, and we're going to get this prepared. Oh yeah, nice and light. Now we've got our plywood shape. This is exactly what we want. This is going to be the framework for the motherboard. Now what we're going to do next is take our 2 pieces of Luan that we've cut the same shape, and one will go on the back, and one will go on the front. And then we're just going to glue this together and clamp it and make it one solid piece. So this is going to be the base of our motherboard. Now before we put it together, there are a lot of burrs and rough edges that are going to keep it from getting a nice flat seal when we clamp this together. So what I'm going to do is just hit this really quick with a sandpaper and my little sanding block and get these off so we got nice clean finishes. Alright, that's good and got all the rough bits off of there. We're going to do a complete sanding when all of the pieces are together. So, alright. Now I've got basic wood glue. Elmer's wood glue, Tight Bond, any of those are just fine. You want to avoid as many nails and screws as possible because we will be using those later, but we don't want to put too many in here. Again, weight down. Do not be shy with your glue. Side. And now is a good time to make sure you've got plenty of clamps. Line up all your pieces as best you can. Like I said, we're going to come back in, we're going to sand all these down, so this is going to look like one solid piece of wood. Right. Okay. Once that's all clamped, we want to let this sit for 24 hours before we even touch it. We want this glue to set up really well. It's going to be a good strong bond for tomorrow. Alright? Till then. Okay. The glue is dry and the clamps are off. Next step is going to be sanding this down, so we want it to appear so it's one solid block of wood, which is going to be the base of our motherboard. All these rough little edges we're going to sand down using my little Mighty Mouse Black & Decker sander. And we're going to get this smooth as an Android's body. Okay, that feels pretty good. I'm going to hit it now with the Orbital sander on both sides and smooth down the top and both faces of the wood. Okay, now that's done. It's time to go shopping. Gonna need a 9-inch cake pan and one flavor injector. Gonna need a 2-tier turntable. Now, as I said before, our Proton pack is going to be very low tech, not very many lights. So to compensate for that, I use these mini reflectors all over it. That way, if anyone takes a picture of you with a flash camera, the reflectors light up and it actually gives your Proton pack a little lighted effect. And we're going to need 4 of the red reflectors because they go into the cyclotron motor. So I got to pick up 2 of these packs. Halloween is the perfect time of year to pick up any small props that will light up because typically they're cheap, they're easy, and they already come all wired. So if you can imagine this being the tip of your neutron wand on your Proton pack, I think we're going to have some good times here. Now you might be wondering what we're doing in the electrical section here at their local hardware store. And no, I don't need to rewire my house with electrical boxes. We're using these Romex boxes to actually adorn the motherboard. When you take these Romex boxes, you flip them upside down, and once we put them on our motherboard, these are what's going to give the motherboard its actual thickness and its look of the Proton pack. So what we're going to do is we're going to pull a couple different styles and varieties out, and we put all these down. We're going to lay them out, make sure they all fit onto our template, and this is what we're going to use to actually create the look of the Proton pack. Okay. Last thing that we need to pick up in the hardware store is going to be the items for the Proton wand itself. For that, I use these outdoor junction boxes. In particular, a 1 in, 2 out. The 1 in is going to be for the handle. Get a curved elbow piece, again 3/4 inch. That goes in for the handle. Then I'm going to put in another piece of 3/4 inch piping which will come out. And that'll be the start of our Proton wand. Okay, we're going to need blue reflectors. And then obviously, you can't make anything Ghostbusters without your caution tape. We're also going to need styrofoam. This is going to build up the thickness for the cyclotron motor part of the Proton pack. Okay, we're back from the store and it's time to use one of the first things we got, and that is going to be our sheet of styrofoam. Now this is going to be building up the cyclotron motor, so we're actually going to be taking our cyclotron motor cutout. Go ahead and use your cutout that you made from the template. That way it's more accurate to what you did, from this piece. If you take it from the template, it might be a couple of generations removed. So just simply we're going to lay the template down on the styrofoam. Again, utilize your flat edges. You want to make as few cuts as possible. Sharpie marker, trace out the template. And now you just want to take an ordinary steak knife just to cut those out. Use your serrated edge. Cut on the outside of the line, that way you have room for sanding when you put all these pieces together. Now we're going to be taking 3 of these and layering them, or laminating them, and putting them together, and that's going to build up the thickness off of the motherboard for the cyclotron motor. Again, just easy, quick cuts. You don't want to tear into it. There you go, 1 piece cut out. We got 2 more to go, and then we'll start with the gluing. Alright, we got our 3 pieces of styrofoam all cut out, and now it's time to glue these onto the motherboard. What we're going to do is just literally take our wood glue, and glue them down one at a time, and then tape it all together using, masking tape is going to be our clamp, and let this sit again for another 24 hours. Again, wood glue is your friend. Ample amount of wood glue is your friend. Okay, we're going to lay these down one at a time. And it's okay if these overhang over your edges, because again, we're going to come back with sandpaper. We're going to sand this all very smooth. Now the last piece to go on top is going to be our piece of wood that we cut out, and this is going to keep all the styrofoam from getting dented, and it also allows us to mount other hardware on top. So it's our hard surface. Again, you should see plenty of styrofoam from underneath, and that is quite alright because we're going to be sanding all this down. Okay, that is put together. Time to clamp with tape. Okay, that should hold it pretty still, and as you can see, our Proton pack is starting to take shape. So, what I've already done is I pre-cut my paper. Now I'm using craft paper. The paper that I use is typically the brown paper that you buy in the paint department. It comes about 3 foot high, roll by about 9 or 10 yards. It's good stuff to use. It's a good durable quality. Now I've cut my paper into 2 size strips. Strip number 1 is the width of the Proton pack from the base of the motherboard to the top edge here of the Luan. Again, nice good size. My second size that I pre-cut is the entire width of the Proton pack from the top of the Luan to the bottom. Now if you have a little overhang, that's fine. We're going to come back once this is dry, and we're going to be edging it with razor blades. So we're going to go ahead and start paper macheing. Well, what I'm going to do first is I'm going to take, to create my paper mache mixture, is I take wood glue, pour the whole contents into a bowl, then take water, pour water into the same bottle, pour that out. That way you got a 1-to-1 ratio. Stir it very good, and that's going to be our paper mache mixture. The best thing about wood glue, it's going to be waterproof. So just keep stirring it, make sure it's good and thinned out. Now I'm also going to take basic wood glue to give myself a base to kind of glue it onto, and you're going to keep this pure. You're not going to use the watered down mixture. So we're going to get messy, so I might as well just get my hands dirty and put it on there nice and thick. It's okay if the glue gets on the motherboard because it's going to be painted anyway. So just spread it all over your hands and spread it around. You want to get good coverage because again, this is what we're going to be applying the paper to. So follow along and we're going to be having fun craft night. Okay, got a good layer. So I'm going to go ahead and start with the top. So using a thin strip, Just let it curve on around. And just lay it on really good. This will allow the paper around all around the edge to conform to that and stick to that very well. And then what you can do is then take your mixture and give that a coating. Now with all these steps, especially with the glue, you always want to allow 24 hours to dry. Once it's dry, you can do whatever you want to it. It'll be in very good condition. Again, like I said, if stuff gets on your motherboard deck, it's fine. Just kind of spread it around, make sure it's evenly placed. It'll actually help out and hard coat the surface. So if there's any divots or wrinkles, basically you're just priming it. I'm just going to go ahead and dip a big strip now. Bring off the excess. Come on, you remember this from elementary school. Always smoothing it down as you go. Make sure you get rid of any wrinkles. And here's a perfect case right here along the side. The paper is hitting along this edge. That happens. Press it in really good. Have a pair of scissors handy. Pull it back off. Cut along your mark line that you just made. You can try to. There we go. And then reapply. You're going to put about 3 to 4 layers of paper on here. And that's really going to solidify what you're doing. It's going to give it a nice surface and can hold up to most bings and bangs that you're going to give it without denting or getting damaged. Okay, now it's time for the inner circle. The inner circle sometimes doesn't come out too smoothly, and not do I mean smooth as in the surface, but as a straight cylinder. So because of that, I've made a lot of these little ones that I'm basically going to step on the edge. So it's going to have a top fold and a bottom fold. And I'm going to do that all the way around the inside. Okay, there it is. It has been paper mache'd, and now we're just going to wait our 24 hours. And once it's dried, we can now finally start full assembly on our Proton pack. The motherboard basics are pretty much done at this point, and now it gets to be all the fun part. Now you may be wondering what to do with all your glue left over. If you want to, pour it back in the bottle, and that way you can save it for your next project. Just make sure you write down watered down glue, otherwise you'll have a nice surprise the next time you open that up. So once this dries, we'll take the next step.